As dads, we don't just train for looks, we train for energy, health, and being around for our kids. But does cardio or strength actually move the needle more? Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. Super excited for you to be tuning into today's show. Now, in today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about the truth about cardio versus strength training for dads. Now, before I get into today's episode, I like to go over anything in my personal life that I think they may find interesting, maybe beneficial, whether it comes to fitness, whether it comes to nutrition, or just anything in general. Last week, went down to the Outer Banks with the family, spent the week there. Awesome time, weather was great. Luckily, the week prior to that, there was a hurricane coming through, so luckily we didn't have to deal with any of that coming through. The waves were definitely a little bit choppy on Monday and Tuesday. You had double red flags, so you could not swim in the water. By the end of the week, the flags were yellow. The water definitely seemed a lot more calm, so it was a little bit more enjoyable. With that said, being in a new location, was able to get in 5 workouts and 20 miles of running, which was awesome. But before I dive into that, I didn't even think that we were going to be able to go on the trip. Our daughter got sent home from daycare on Thursday. They had a stomach bug going around. I had Friday off, spent the day with her on Friday. She seemed all right, not too bad. There wasn't any red flags going off, and they've sent her home from daycare before out of an abundance of caution, and then nothing ends up going wrong. So that's what I thought was going to happen. And then about sometime in the middle of the night on Saturday, maybe 2 a.m., our daughter woke up and she threw up in her crib. So that wasn't obviously a great time. And then laid low on Saturday. We're leaving Sunday, packing up because we're actually driving there on Sunday. Our daughter threw up. She seemed to be doing a little bit better, so we gave her. She really wanted milk. That was a mistake. Gave her milk. Gave her yogurt. She threw that up all over the carpet, and that was about a little while before we were supposed to go. So not only were we worried about my wife and I getting sick, but then our daughter's sick. We ended up making the decision of going, and she actually ended up sleeping quite a bit in the car, and I think it ended up helping her a little bit more than if she was just home. So unfortunate to see, but we were able to make the trip, and again, it was a great time going down there, and I highly recommend it. Now, when it came to the workouts on Monday morning, woke up early enough, was able to hit the gym at the hotel that we were staying at. We were driving from New York to Outer Banks. It's about a 11 hour drive. And we had stopped in Washington, D.C. And within Washington, D.C., I woke up early enough, got up, did a workout, had a 45-minute workout, was able to get 45 minutes of running in on the treadmill. So I ended up doing, I believe that was about 5 miles. So again, 20 miles over the course of the week. Typically on an average week, I do about 30, but was able to get 20 in last week. So definitely happy with that, especially being on vacation, you're out more and you're walking more. So getting 20 in was definitely great for me. Ended up joining a gym called but it was called Outer Banks Sports Club. That was great. It was able to buy a week pass, went there every morning, got up. I didn't have an alarm set up because I'm on vacation, but ended up waking up every day and getting to the gym about 5:30. I think it didn't open till 5:30, which I like the gym I go to now because it doesn't open till 5:30, but I pay a little bit extra, $10 extra a month to be able to get in 24 hours. So sometimes I might go earlier, or even when I get there 5 minutes before. I don't know. I like to go in, but nonetheless, I believe there's only one day I ended up sleeping until like 5:30. Most days I was up about 5:15, so I was able to get to the gym. It was about 9 minutes away from where you're saying. Awesome gym. Highly recommend checking it out if you're in the Outer Banks area and it's not too far away from you. So really enjoyed getting the workouts in, and it's nice because sometimes you go on vacation, and like when I go to Maine on vacation, I usually go on a trip for a few days with my wife and daughter, and there's no gyms around. So I'll typically do more cardio, and then I notice like it takes me about a week or two to get back into it when I take a week off of lifting. I mean, I can do pull-ups, I can do push-ups, I can do dips, but there's only so much body weight I can find that I can do where I just prefer going to the gym and using machines and using free weights and different aspects of that. So very thankful to be able to get that workout in. And then now diving into today's episode, which is the truth about cardio versus strength training for dads. Now, I want to dive into my experience a little bit, and it might be different than your experience and maybe what you've encountered in the past. But starting off, I had always been someone that goes to the gym, lifting weights. As no, it's been quite a while now, and I added in cardio about, honestly, at this point, probably about a year and a half ago. So it wasn't something that I had always been doing. It was something that I just picked up on over time. I've found, and again, whether it's science based or whether you want to look at it, I don't have time in my schedule to work out twice a day. What I mean by that is, like say I work out at 6 a.m., then I work out at 6 p.m. I got to get all my workouts done in the morning. Is it beneficial? Probably not, but hey, that's what works best for me. I find that I have to do strength training first. If I do a 3 or 4 mile run, my strength training doesn't suffer. If I do a 5 mile run and up, typically when I'm going to the gym, and it might be, within an hour or two of me finishing that run, I do notice a little bit more of lack of strength. When I do a strength training session, I can definitely go out and run 10 miles. But when I run 10 miles without doing a strength training session, I definitely notice I feel better and faster overall. So there's definitely these peaks and balances between cardio and strength training. Again, there's no science I can share with you to back this up. This is just my experience and what I've encountered from doing both strength training and working out. And at times I have different goals and different priorities. Sometimes I might be focused on just strength training, which is what I'm doing right now, along with cardio. And then when I'm in doing a marathon session or in marathon training, obviously that's going to look a little bit different as well. I'm going to take a little bit less strength training, and even my body might look a little bit different, not as bulky. I've thinned down because it's, marathon training, you're losing a lot of calories, and as much as I want to take it all in, it can definitely be a little bit tricky at times. So where I am right now and in my season of life is just maintaining my weekly mileage and continuing the strength training at the gym with the goal of always doing, every time I go to the gym, I want to do either one more rep or go up in weight and do the same amount of reps. Like let's just say hypothetically bench 185 for 5. Next week I want to do 185 for 6, or I want to do 195 for 5. And that's, maybe I do 195 for 4, and then I come in and I do 195 for 5, the second, third week, however that may be, and just steadily progress like that. But again, there's going to be different goals and different priorities. I can tell you when I was training for my marathon, I definitely didn't feel as I had as much strength in the gym. Now I feel like I have a lot more strength in the gym only running these 30 miles a week. Now, it can be the time that you have available. Maybe you don't have time to go out and run 30 miles a week. Maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum, you don't have time to do, say, 4 or 5 strength training sessions a week. And those are obviously going to impact you, where if you do more running, then it's going to be a little tricky. You might not have full strength on the strength training, and then conversely on the strength training side, maybe you don't have as much on the running side. And this isn't to take away, like, I can tell you, like, when I'm, like, an average time when, like, right now where I'm going out running between 8:30 and 8:45 minute miles. Now, if I don't strength train, you typically knock off 15 to 30 seconds a mile. It's not like I'm knocking off a minute or 2 minutes or really anything drastic like that, but I am able to knock it off a little bit. Now, the reason I really like the cardio aspect of it is just the mindset. It's not enjoyable running 100% of the time. Today was phenomenal. It was a great time going out there and getting my run in, but a lot of the times it can be cold, you don't feel like doing it, the legs are tired. I already did a strength training session, but I'm going out there and I'm doing the cardio anyway. And it should be known, obviously the great aspects of cardio are your heart health, your endurance, and honestly for me it's just setting that example of perseverance, especially when I was running the mile and I got about 21 miles in, and just trying to get those last 5 miles in was like pulling teeth. I can't even recall what it was. It was just a grind to push through and get those 5 miles in. And it's funny, like when I run 5 miles today, it's nice and easy. But when you're in 21 miles and you have 5 miles left, those 5 miles might as well felt like 100 miles. And it's interesting to see. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to strength training, for me, I just want to be strong for myself. I want to set an example of what a good physique looks like for my wife, for my daughter. And obviously, you get the nice, muscles and, assist with your metabolism. But for me, I just want to be strong. I want to be fit. I want to be in shape. I, not to like harp on looks or anything like that, but like, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be someone that when they're older has trouble getting up and down. And I can tell you from going on some of these ambulance calls or some, going out as an EMT, or I guess right now I'm an attendant, but going out with the EMT and you get a call in for someone. Basically, the call comes in as someone who fell, and more often than not, the calls that I have gone to, it's typically been someone that's overweight, that's older, that I don't want to say if they never exercised or ate healthy, but I don't want to be in a situation where I have to call the ambulance to come get me up and pick me up and get me from my chair to my bedroom because I'm overweight and I can't do it. Obviously, there's different people have different problems, but that's not the situation I want to be in. I look at strength training and working out, and I can prevent that as much as possible as I can. When it comes to the hybrid approach, I don't think you have to choose doing strength training or cardio. For me, I'm not doing 100-mile weeks, not being a power lifter. I just find that I'm just going in, I'm getting my 30 miles a weekend, and I'm getting my strength training in as well. I'm just being very consistent week after week, day after day, just knowing that I'm getting better over time running, I'm getting better over time strength training, and I'm not neglecting one area. And it's not to say like if you just want to do cardio or you just want to do strength training, but I highly recommend that depending on which spectrum you are, if you're someone that's more of a runner, get a couple of strength training sessions in a week. If you're someone that's doing strength training, get a couple of cardio sessions in per week. I really feel as though that it complements each other. And it allows me to push myself further in the gym than if I was just doing one area. And they require, I don't know how to describe it, just like different parts of my brain where when I'm thinking about going for a run versus thinking about doing strength training and what I put into the set, like when I go to the gym and I'm benching 4 sets, I'll take like a minute and a half off between set. Like there's no taking off in cardio. So like the structure is different, and just I don't have the science behind it, but I feel as though I'm just using a different part of my brain, and I really enjoy that hybrid approach of both doing cardio and strength training. Now, and I've talked about it on podcasts before, but for me to structure my weekly workouts to balance both, I find that I get up early. So typically on average, I get up about 4:50, get to the gym about 5:30, get home about 7, eat breakfast, drop my daughter off at daycare, come back, get my next run in for the morning. Some folks might not do that. They have to work in the office. Working from home, of course, that affords me the ability to get this done because I don't have to commute, which is obviously a nice thing and very grateful for that. But you can structure your workout any way that you want, but I highly recommend at least incorporating some cardio and strength training into your workout, and it can definitely be comfortable. I mean, for me, I'd only been doing strength training, hadn't been doing any cardio, and I remember running that first mile and a half was like absolutely killer, but then over time it just becomes easier, and now I really do enjoy running for the most part. It can be a little bit tough out there in January and February, especially being in upstate New York where it gets a little bit colder. But at the end of the day, I really enjoy both aspects of it, and I really think that you will too if you are someone that is just strength training or just doing cardio. Just doing both verticals is just highly beneficial for yourself. And I really hope you enjoyed today's episode on the truth about cardio versus strength training for dads. I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss the balance between sacrifice and self-care as a dad.